Right. Well, so Canada had famously the toughest sanctions in the world on Myanmar, and there was really absolutely there was no relationship in the past generation. No trade, no development assistance, no political contacts, nothing. And but in 2012, it started to become clear that the new quasi-civilian regime of Thein Sein, which took power in 2011, was not exactly what we were expecting. We were expecting some sort of completely sham democratic facade on a military regime. But they started to do things like, release Aung San Suu Kyi from house arrest and allow political parties to associate freely, develop new political parties, conduct propaganda. There was censorship was lifted completely, making Myanmar, which was formerly the place with the tightest restrictions on freedom of expression, to be one of the freest in Southeast Asia, if not the freest. And it became evident that this was something unusual, possibly real, and Canada wanted to be part of it, wanted to be part of this, this triple reform of political system, economic system, and an overhaul of the peace process, the internal peace process in Myanmar. So we realized we didn't want to miss out on this, and that's why the embassy was planned to open in 2013, and I arrived there in June 2013, in the middle of this incredible, messy, chaotic, amazing reform. The key problem, of course, was that there was nothing to work with in terms of a relationship. Toughest sanctions in the world, no history of significant ties with, forget military, not even political figures or bureaucracy. We didn't have because we didn't have an embassy, we had no presence on the ground, very little contact, but also no commercial interests, no development contacts. It was very difficult for Burmese citizens to get a visa, so there was not much in the way of people-to-people ties, no significant tourism, travel, and so on. So we were starting a relationship from scratch. Very, very limited understanding of what Canada was, because Canada was completely absent. And then there were other, in retrospect, you can always think of things that you could have done better, but when I arrived there, we had temporary facilities in the British embassy. The British were very helpful to us, but in fact we were in a converted change room and a storage room inside the British embassy. So I always thank the British ambassador, though, because he had to deal with his local staff were not happy that they had lost their change room, but he was quite firm that the Canadian embassy needed a place to set up shop. So we were in two small rooms, and that meant that we had one phone. We couldn't be connected to a printer and a computer at the same time. It was really like it was kind of a sitcom kind of situation. And then when we were planning to move to a beautiful brand new office in a downtown office tower, one of the few downtown office towers, but at the time I arrived it was a concrete shell, with wires hanging, concrete floor and wires hanging out of the roof. And it's at that time, especially, that was the real boom time, 2013. It was very hard to get things done, to get things constructed, to get materials brought in, because there was this, everyone was doing the same thing. Every corporation and every embassy was expanding, and so it was a little bit of that was not a straightforward thing to actually get the embassy built. So fortunately, we kind of brought a hired gun out of retirement, a guy who had been working on embassies for the past 40 years, who was retired in Hanoi, a Canadian, and he kind of saved us in that he came to Yangon and supervised the construction. But even that was kind of a process of teaching local contractors how to do the work. So everything was from scratch, right? Everything was absolutely from scratch. So I like to talk about it as a startup embassy. That was how we, those of us who were in these very cramped quarters, working kind of long hours, it was nonetheless a really exciting time. So we sort of embraced the absurdity and difficulty of it.